Tonight, you're going to close your eyes in the dark and become completely helpless. No claws, no fangs, no armor, just a soft, slow-breathing body lying motionless on the ground. And yet something almost miraculous happens. The wilderness leaves you alone. Why? You might assume it's because wild animals are afraid of humans, or because they simply aren't hungry. But the real answer is far stranger, and it reaches back into a time before you were human at all. Picture yourself in the African savannah. Not today. 200,000 years ago. The sun has dropped, the fire has burned low, and your ancestors are curled together in the grass. Lions pace in the darkness nearby. Leopards move silently through the trees above, and your people sleep anyway. They have to, because every living creature on this planet must sleep, and somehow they survived long enough to become you. The question is not whether wild animals can attack sleeping humans. They can, and sometimes they do. The question is why. On the overwhelming balance of evidence, they almost never choose to. This distinction matters enormously, and the answer lives in the intersection of animal psychology, evolutionary biology, and something researchers call the predator-prey risk matrix. Start with this. Every predator on Earth is also, in some other context, prey. A lion fears hyenas. A wolf fears bears. Even the crocodile, one of the most ancient killing machines on the planet, will retreat from a larger crocodile. Every animal alive today is descended from a long line of ancestors who survived by being cautious. Rashness got animals killed. Caution kept their genes moving forward. Gordon Burghardt, a behavioral ecologist at the University of Tennessee who has spent decades studying animal cognition and play behavior, points out something fascinating. Wild animals are not instinct-driven robots. They are risk-assessing agents. Before any predator attacks, it is running a calculation, not consciously but neurologically. What is the energy cost of this hunt? What is the risk of injury? What is the likelihood of success? And most importantly, what happens if this goes wrong? A sleeping human, paradoxically, disrupts that calculation in a way that actually protects you. Here's the first thing a predator detects when it approaches a sleeping human. Smell, not the smell of prey. The smell of something unfamiliar, something that does not fit any template the animal's nervous system has been trained by evolution to pursue. For most of human prehistory, we were not a prey species. We were a fire-using, weapon-carrying, group-living, exceptionally loud social primate. We smelled like smoke. We smelled like iron from the tools we carried. We smelled like a community, not like a lone, vulnerable animal. Daniel Blumstein, a professor of ecology and evolutionary biology at UCLA and one of the leading researchers in animal fear responses, has found that animals calibrate fear, not just to what a threat looks like, but to what it smells like, sounds like, and how predictable its behavior is. A sleeping human is deeply unpredictable. It might be alone, or it might have 20 others nearby. It might have a weapon within reach. It might wake up screaming. The animal has no clean threat model for this creature. And so the safest option, the option selected for millions of years, is to avoid it. This is not mercy. This is math. But there is more. Predators that regularly hunt at night, lions, leopards, hyenas, jaguars, have evolved to pursue prey that runs, prey that flees. The motion of flight is itself a trigger. It activates the pursuit response. A motionless body, paradoxically, can suppress that trigger. Not always, not completely, but enough to matter. Consider what researchers observed during long-term field studies in the Serengeti. When humans slept in open areas without tents, they were rarely approached by predators. When they moved, spoke, or created sudden noise, predators often melted back into the darkness. The animals were monitoring, yes, but they were not attacking. Because the risk-reward calculation kept coming up wrong. Now think about what your ancestors were doing around those ancient fires. They were not just sleeping, They were sleeping in groups. And this matters more than almost anything else. Group living is one of the most powerful anti-predator strategies in the animal kingdom. A lone zebra is vulnerable. A herd of zebras is a fortress. Your ancestors understood this the same way every herd animal understands it. Not with words, but with behavior. You sleep near others. You take turns at light sleep and deep sleep. You position yourselves so the first sign of danger wakes the group. And predators know this. They have learned it across generations of costly mistakes. Lynn Isbell, a primatologist at the University of California, Davis, has spent years researching how primates and predators co-evolved, and her work suggests something remarkable. The very structure of the primate visual system, the thing that gives you detailed color vision and excellent depth perception, may have evolved in response to the threat of snakes and predators during exactly these kinds of vulnerable sleeping moments. Your eyes evolved in part because something dangerous was watching you sleep, and yet here you are. There is also a behavioral layer operating beneath conscious awareness. Humans emit sounds and smells even while sleeping, breathing, subtle movements, tiny signals. And for a predator considering an approach, each signal carries information. Healthy large mammals, even sleeping ones, are dangerous. They can wake suddenly. They can vocalize in ways that carry enormous distances. They can attract others. They can fight. They can injure. A lion that gets kicked by a sleeping Cape buffalo does not make that mistake twice. A leopard that misjudges a sleeping human and takes a blow to the head will recalibrate. Animals that attack incorrectly and survive learn. Animals that attack incorrectly and do not survive leave no descendants. The result, played out over millions of years, is a general predator preference for prey that is running, isolated, weak, unpredictable. A sleeping human checks none of those boxes cleanly. And there is something even deeper, something you carry in your body right now without realizing it. You were never truly prey. Not in the evolutionary sense. Your ancestors were not the bottom of any food chain. They were the ones who learned to turn the fire outward, to hunt the hunters, to build spears, to move in coordinated groups capable of driving off animals 10 times their size. Predators did not just learn that humans were risky, they learned that humans were the ones doing the attacking, who threw things, who screamed and charged, who could turn from helpless to lethal in a moment. That asymmetry is encoded in the nervous systems of predators across Africa, Asia, and the Americas, not as a thought, as a hesitation, as an instinct to pause and reassess when the creature in front of you is human-shaped and human-smelling. This is not to say attacks never happen. They do, and the pattern of those attacks reveals the logic perfectly. The attacks that occur almost always involve a predator that is injured, starving, or desperate. An animal whose normal prey base has collapsed. An animal that has lost its fear of humans, or an animal confronting a lone individual separated from the protections that made human sleep survivable for 200,000 years. The man-eating lions of Tsavo, who killed dozens of railway workers in 1898, became famous precisely because they were exceptional. The rule is the opposite. So tonight, when you close your eyes, you are not just sleeping. You are resting inside a system of protections that evolution spent millions of years constructing. Your body carries the smell of something that learned to make fire. Your sleeping posture is part of a survival pattern refined over 200,000 years of cooperation. And the wilderness, on the whole, reads you correctly, not as prey, as the thing that survived everything. And that is why tonight, just like every night, something almost miraculous happens. The wilderness leaves you alone.